Welcome to We the People. One of the earliest decisions of the Modi government has been to argue in favor, legally now cleared by the government, that those juveniles who commit heinous crimes like rape and murder should be tried by an adult court under adult law if the Juvenile Justice Board so decides. This has, of course, triggered an old and familiar debate, one that was first pushed after the horrific Delhi gang rape by Nirbhaya's parents, who wanted a much tougher law against juveniles, especially when it came to heinous crimes like rape and murder. On the other side, child rights activists have said that the emphasis on retribution instead of reform is misplaced and that this would open a Pandora's box when it comes to children's rights. On We the People today, is this decision by the government in the interest of justice? Let me start with Subramaniam Swamy. I start with you because you took this to court. At that time, the legal system, in a sense, wasn't able to offer the solution. Do you believe now that these new amendments will be endorsed by Parliament, and why do you support them?
Well, first of all, the Parliament had felt that my arguments were sound, but they didn't have the power to amend the Act the way I wanted it. So they wanted me to go to Parliament, which is what I went to the Prime Minister as well as Maneka Gandhi. And the reason I wanted to have this amended is that the Act that we passed in a haste on the near midnight of 31st December of 1999, or rather 2000. Was to meet the deadline of the United Nations, which was getting angry with us that we had ratified the UN Convention in 1992, had been done nothing for about 8 years. What the Beijing rules say, I'll read out, and that's what was ignored in the hurry. It talks about the principle of innocence. The juvenile or child in conflict with law is presumed to be innocent of any malified or criminal intent up to the age of 18 years. That's how it starts. Then it says, age of innocence is the age below which a juvenile or child or juvenile in conflict with law cannot be subject to the criminal justice system. The Beijing rule, this is the government's summary. Yeah. The Beijing rule 4(1) clearly lays down that the beginning of the age of criminal responsibility shall not be fixed too low an age level, bearing in mind the facts of the mental and intellectual maturity.
So you're saying it was wrong for India to sign up for this?
No,
even though
I am saying that you did not faithfully implement what both the Beijing rules and the UN Convention said.
Okay, so now let me get in Bharti Ali on this. There are still safeguards even with the amendments. One of them, for example, argue that a juvenile cannot be given the death sentence or life imprisonment. The second is that it is up to the Juvenile Justice Board to actually decide whether a particular crime needs to be tried under adult law, so to speak. So it's not a blanket lowering of the age from 18 to 16. It's not changing the definition of what a child is. Why is this not acceptable to activists such as yourself?
See, to begin with, it's incorrect to say that there is no death penalty and life imprisonment, because the law, as it is worded, actually implies that death and life can be given for offences other than those covered by the Indian Penal Code and the Juvenile Justice Act. Secondly, on how the JJBs are supposed to decide which case to be forwarded is a very dangerous issue. There's a lot of subjectivity to seep in. We do not have mechanisms to help them arrive at that understanding.
You don't trust the Juvenile Justice Board to take the correct,
You don't have mechanisms. They
decision?
need assistance from psychologists, from mental health experts, from a whole range of service providers to come to that assessment. So the only assessment they are going to rely upon is media hype about an incident. So anything that gets hype will be transferred. What doesn't get hype will remain with the board.
But is it hype?
May I interrupt 1 minute?
Sure,
Just 1 minute. The chairman or the head of the Juvenile Justice Board has to have a minimum degree in child psychology.
Well, has to have training, not a degree, has to have training in child psychology, but that does not...
But I have a quarrel with your phrase media hype, because when you say media hype, it suggests that we are making up statistics that don't actually exist. And we will delve deeper into what these statistics represent, and I know there are complex arguments, but on the face of it, if you look at the government data, the government has argued that there has been a 60% increase in the number of children arrested for rape, a 35% increase in the number of children, when I say children I mean below 18, who have been arrested for rape. That of course is after the definition of rape was changed. I'm aware of that. It was legally changed, so that could explain the increase, but nonetheless these, Bharti, are the statistics, and 67% of those juveniles who are arrested for rape are between the ages of 16 and 18. So how is this media hype?
Juveniles arrested for rape have always been on a higher side in the 16 to 18 age category.
Yeah. Yes.
What is so new about it today is what is the question. And the question is that if we need to hold them accountable for their action, which all of us feel that
Yes.
we do need to hold them
Yes.
accountable for their action,
Yes.
but what is the solution? Does the solution lie in the adult system is the question that we
Okay, so let's explore that further, but let's first hear from Badri ji. Badri and Asha here sitting next to me are the parents of the girl we have come to know, or the woman we have come to know as Nirbhay, fearless. This was of course the horrific gang rape that in a sense proved to be an inflection point for the conversation around gender. और बद्री जी आपसे शुरू करना चाहूंगी, आप लोग तो कोर्ट गए, आप चाहते थे कि ये जो लॉ है, ये जुवेनाइल जस्टिस लॉ, इसमें बदलाव आए. अब ये जो नई सरकार है वो ये बदलाव लाना चाहती है. बाकी लोग कहते हैं कि भाई अडल्ट सिस्टम में बच्चे को डालना ठीक नहीं, चाहे कोई भी कैसा भी क्राइम क्यों ना हो. तो आप इस चेंज के बारे में, जो ये प्रपोज चेंज है, उसके बारे में आप बद्री जी क्या बोले?
सबसे तो पहले अगर हमारे देश में अमन शांति होती, चैन होता, तो हमें सिस्टम में बदलने बनाने की ज़रूरत कहाँ थी. कानून क्यों बनता है, क्यों बनाया जाता है? अगर हमारे देश में लड़कियां, महिलाएं, चाहे पुरुष, चाहे कोई भी वर्ग, छोटा हो या बड़ा हो, महफूज अपने को आपको महसूस करता है कि नहीं हम ठीक हैं, तो हमें कानून की ज़रूरत कहाँ से पड़ गई? जब हमने ये देख लिया कि सब कुछ करने के बावजूद भी, इससे पहले 16 से 18 ही हुआ था ना, पीछे पहले 16 ही था, फिर 18 हुआ है. 18 होने के बावजूद क्राइम बढ़ता जा रहा है. तो इसमें हमें क्या करना है, ये तो हमारे देश को चलाने वाले लोगों के ऊपर है निर्भर. लेकिन हम जो सोचते हैं, हमारे साथ तो जो घटना घटी है, जिस तरह का हेनियस क्राइम हुआ है, तो आपको भी पता है कि एक नाबालिग के काम नहीं कर सकता. जब तक हमारे बिटिया के साथ जो कुछ हुआ है, बस में 8 बजे से लेकर लगभग 10 बजे तक बस घूमती रही, जो कुछ हुआ वो तो होता ही रहा. लेकिन आप ये बताइए कि बिना सोचे, बिना समझे, बिना किसी अपना सर्कल बनाए हुए कोई इस तरह का काम नहीं कर सकता. इसका मतलब है कि ये लोग पहले भी करते थे, नहीं पकड़े गए तो बड़े अपने आप को साफ सुथरे थे, पकड़े गए तो क्राइम में आ गए. तो इसका मतलब है कि ये जो नाबालिग लोग काम करते हैं, ये निश्चित रूप से उनका दिमाग बिल्कुल सही है, अपनी दिशा भूल करके बेशक भूले हुए हैं, लेकिन हम कहें कि भूले भी नहीं हैं, ये बल्कि दिशा को अपना बदल दिए हैं कि हमें इस दिशा पे ही चलना है. इसलिए कानून की जरूरत है कि कानून बदला जाए और इनको सजा दी जाए.
Jashish Puriwal, how do you argue with the father's emotion? He sees a juvenile man being among those who commits this horror on a young woman. She's gang raped, she's murdered in the most brutal, unimaginable way possible. How can we, as women who stand up for the rights of this woman, in the same breath make the argument that one of the men who did this to her should not go to jail because he's below 18? Is this not a moral and emotional dilemma even for liberals who've been arguing against the change in this law?
Well, because largely I think, Barkha, we have to look at the fact that there is no denying the emotion, and hence one can totally understand where the father or the mother are coming from. But that's not how we are going to rule for how society needs to go forward. And
why not though?
Because first of all, I want to say that, you know, the last decade for India has brought in a change, an unprecedented change in everything possible, but most importantly in what we would call a sexual revolution. The young have changed their access, their aspiration, the value system, the way they're able to relate.
But how does that tie up with what happened on the 16th of December?
It ties up because I don't want to make an exact connection to how that ties up, but I do want to say that we have the largest growing youth population in the world. Technology has completely brought access to everybody across caste and class. I just looked at a news item a few days ago which says the last year's in the increase in mobile phones, 68% increase has been in smartphones, and only 2%
But how does that? I'm missing the point here.
Just one moment, Barkha. So why are people accessing or buying more smartphones even if they can't afford them? Because it gives them access to pornography.
Is this able to explain
internet.
why a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old will
Yes,
rape a woman?
yes,
This is
yes.
able to explain it?
I don't know if I want to explain why they want to rape, but I do want to say in a society where there is no discussion on sexuality, where sex is not being talked about, where there is no access to sex education, and the people who are bringing in the law and making the changes in law even today say, no, we're not ready for sex education.
But I just want to get KTS Tulsi and Subramanian Swamy. The Subramanian Swamy, do you see a connection between what Jasjeet Puriwal calls the larger sexual revolution or the shifts in sexual codes to violence? And one of the reasons that I'm a little confused by this debate is because women have long argued that rape is not about sex. It's actually about power. So if we tie this into the largest debate around sexuality, are we not on dangerous ground?
Of course, the issue is one of causality that we cannot accept. There is a correlation, there's no doubt about it. But first, let me make one point, that we are talking about heinous crimes that includes also terror act by juveniles. Supposing Kasab, he had claimed that he was a juvenile and therefore he should not be hanged or should not be tried by even the court. Now we are having now various kinds of crimes which we require deterrent punishment. Question is, for rape, does the person who commits this kind of rape know what he's doing? If he knows what he's doing, he cannot be a juvenile.
I think it's an interesting question. KTS Tulsi, what if Ajmal Kasab was 17? It raises all sorts of questions, and Bharti and Jasjeet and others would argue, and we'll get to all of those voices, that and there have even been arguments that a child's brain or his capacity to make an adult choice is not fully formed till 18, and we'll get Achal Bhagat in on that in just a moment. But where do you come in on this debate?
No, I entirely agree with Dr. Swamy in this. The point is whether the juvenile in conflict with law understands the quality of his act. And with this sexual revolution that ma'am is talking about, I should say that that's an argument for lowering the age.
Yeah.
Because they understand the nature and quality of the act that they are doing, and people are becoming more aggressive in their behavior because of the violence, because of whatever they are seeing on the media explosion, not only television but also
why are we repeatedly tying in sexual violence with sexual awareness? I'm a bit confused. I mean, I find this a bit disturbing.
No,
we're trying to locate it within
the liability for criminal act depends on your ability to decide.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they are growing up faster, if they are growing up, I mean, there are countries in which even a child of above 12 is being tried in the adult courts and is being punished. But 16 is definitely, according to me, the safest bet that we can have. And 18 was completely irrational in this day and age.
In a blanket way. Achal Bhagat, do you agree that if you're adult enough to commit rape, if you commit an adult crime, you are adult enough to be tried by grown-up law?
So there are three words that I'd like to bring into the debate right now. The first word is competence, and competence to stand trial in an adult justice system. The competence of a child to stand trial in an adult justice system, which is adversarial. And one thing that we are overlooking in this competence issue is that when the Juvenile Justice Board takes a decision to refer the case to the adult court, the child will not have a defense against it. The child will not be represented. The child will not be represented.
No, because the Constitution requires the child to be represented.
The child will be represented, but where is the process for the child to defend themselves that they should not be referred to the adult court? There is no process delineated for that.
Oh, you're saying they're not being given a choice, but why would any child choose to be referred to an adult court?
Precisely, but so the child's competence, and let me stay with the larger question of competence, is can the child withstand the adversarial system of the Indian judicial system for the adults? Unfortunately, no, and there's enough evidence of that. And for that, you need to look at what happens to the young people, 19 to 21, who go through the adult system. What are their crime rates after they come out? And we don't have figures for that. But as an experienced professional in this field, and there are others here who every day work with these young people, 19 to 21, you go to prison, you come out a harder criminal, with higher crime rates. So if it's happening for 19 to 21, why won't it happen for 16
okay,
to 18?
that's an interesting point. Can I just put this question to
two more words to come in later.
Okay, yeah. but you know, we spoke to Badri ji, who Nirbhay's father. We have Nirbhay's mother sitting next to us. यहाँ पर ये बोला जा रहा है कि भाई अगर आप 16 से 18 साल के बीच में किसी इंसान को आप जेल में भर्ती कर देते हो तो उसके सुधारने के जो चांसेस हैं वो बहुत कम है, कि जेल में बंद होकर जो एक यंग माइंड है वो और भी कठोर हो जाता है. तो इसमें आपको लगता है कोई लॉजिक है? क्योंकि आप लोग तो शुरू से ही चाह रहे हैं कि लॉ में बदलाव आए. अपनी बेटी के बारे में याद करते हुए, तो वो बेटी तो वापस नहीं आ सकती, लेकिन यहाँ ये भी कहा जा रहा है कि भावुक हो के ये फैसले नहीं लिए जा सकते.
देखिए, हमारे बेटी को 2 साल लगभग होने वाला है, उसको छोड़ दीजिए. लेकिन उसके बाद कितना घटनाएं हुई हैं जिसमें जुगनाइल है. अगर 4 हैं तो उसमें एक जुगनाइल है. सबसे आज के समय में इस कानून का मांग इसलिए है, हर 18 साल से कम उम्र के बच्चों के मन में एक गलत संदेश जा रहा है कि हम कुछ भी करेंगे हमें सज़ा नहीं मिलेगी. तो इसको देखते हुए हमें लगता है, चाहे जनता को देखना चाहिए कि इस चीज़ को देखते हुए आज इस कानून को बदलने की ज़रूरत है. इस कानून के बदलने से रेप में फर्क आए ना आए, लेकिन आज के किशोरों के मन में एक भय होगा कि नहीं, अगर हम भी कुछ करेंगे तो हमें भी सजा मिलेगी.
Those of you here in the audience who agree with Nirbhaya's mother, raise your hand. I just want to get a sense of where the audience is on this, and I'm seeing an almost 80% agreement. Why do you agree?
I agree because a person who is committing such a crime, if he thinks he can commit such a crime with a group of adults, he being a single juvenile, he's bound that he's mentally aware and mentally matured so much. So why not he be tied up with such adult
You agree as well?
I agree, and I would like to say that sitting next to madam, that it's come to realization that when a person who's juvenile has a mind to commit such a heinous crime, then why doesn't our judicial system has the mind to properly punish these kind of people? Why are we taking a back foot when it comes to punishing these juveniles?
Okay, just a second. Anyone who disagrees, because not every hand went up, not everyone, and I'm just coming to you, Professor Ved Kumari, just give me a second. Why do you disagree?
My name is Javed. I work at Butterflies. We work every day with such children who are apprehended, put in the observation homes.
Okay.
See, one is that even in the present Juvenile Justice Act, it is not that there are no consequences if you do such a heinous crime, right?
What are the consequences?
Yeah, that they might be put away for 3 years, so it's not that they are going free and they are completely, off because they have done such a crime. On the other hand, the kind of victimization that happens to the young people, because we have seen that so many kids that were in the observation home have come from the adult prison. So what happens to all those years that they have suffered? Who is to be blamed? And so many kids will be, and even our studies, we have shown 249 kids we have studied across 10 observation homes in India, in 3 states.
Yeah.
So more than 50% of them were influenced by adults. So why can't we catch the adults instead of the victims?
Okay, I think that's a great question. And before I come to Professor Ved Kumari and Mahabano, quick response from you. Is it not the failure of the state, of society at large, if there is an increase in juvenile crime? In some senses, those are our children being effectively orphaned out there. Should we be punishing them for it, or should we be taking responsibility
for
it?
Crime in any society, the society is responsible. That there is a crime.
Yet you want to lock them up like adults.
No. Why should we make an exception for juveniles? I'm saying that any
You're saying any crime is an application.
Any crime is an imperfection in our society.
The effective thing that we have to understand is,
yes,
if we met that same child the day before they committed the crime,
yes,
the same child would be a child in need of care and protection. On the day of the crime, they become a child in conflict with law. The day before that, they would have been a child in need of care and protection, which means that they would have got all
quickly, and then I want to go to Ved Kumari.
No, I would say that was like saying that if you are 17 years, 11 months and 29 days, you are a child, and 2 days later you are an adult.
Unfortunately, that's playing to the gallery. That's playing to the
Okay,
gallery.
okay. Professor Ved Kumari, you spend a lot of time researching.
I am not arguing that. I am saying that.
This whole argument,
yes,
this whole argument that if you are 17 years, 11 months and 29 days applies to a 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 11 months and 29 days also.
So let's return to the larger debate. Let's return to the larger debate.
So therefore, I think this whole argument being put forward that by going by Dr. Subramanian Swami's
argument. I didn't use that argument. I was just making fun of that argument. I am not using that argument.
Let's return to the amendments, please.
He's also saying that as long as it is a heinous offence.
Yes.
He's not saying 16 above.
Yes.
He's saying any offence. If it is 7 years, if it is 5 years, it's only the offence which matters. So even if a 5-year-old kills, according to Dr. Swami, he should be sent to prison.
Yes, if he commits a heinous crime.
If he commits a heinous offence.
Define a heinous
and so
I will define it.
So I think that's a very, very extreme position to take. No civilized world in the country, no civilized country or civilized person in the world would say a 5-year-old should be sent to a serious punishment of death penalty for committing a heinous offence.
Are you not being a little too literal about this? I think the larger point is that there are people who are near adulthood. They're near adulthood.
The moment
in some countries, 16 is considered.
In all these
in my opinion, only after 16 you would commit a crime of the kind of what we saw in Nirbhaya's.
Yeah.
Because the aggression is at the peak.
Britain has, by the way, got 14 years.
Yeah, but
and our original IPC has got 12 years. So I'm not going into that.
The age, as Nirbhaya's father pointed out, used to be 16. It was actually changed to 18 in India.
That's 86 it was 16.
But I think what we need to understand is we're looking at America and in England, which they are excluding children from the age of 12, 13, 14.
Yes.
None of these countries are pointing out that by reducing the age, by excluding children from the adult system, we are doing better. We have controlled the crime. They're not showing so. After 25 years of doing that.
That's an important point. Bhavana Kotwal, I think the argument being made, and you had Asha ji here, Nirbhaya's mother, saying, I don't care if this changes the incident or brings down the incidence of rape. It's the message that has to be strong. But Professor Ved Kumari makes the argument that the purpose of law is eventually to reduce crime. So if crime rates are not coming down, then is there misplaced emotion? Understandable, but misplaced emotion.
And also
well, I feel that for the first time I agree with the politicians. I never agree with them, but I do. I think that when a person is 16, in today's world, I was told in our room outside that no scientific proof. I say they are not adolescents. They are young adults, according to me. They are young adults and they have to go through the punishment. And I think that this will put the fear of God in them, if nothing else, as she said. You know? I mean, here there is just no fear. I mean, politicians are saying boys will be boys.
No, I didn't say that.
Not you, but your
I didn't say that.
But somebody from your...
I didn't say that.
I do wish to inform this audience that the number of rapes in the country went up between 2012 to 2013 by something like 9,000 cases, to which the contribution of juveniles has been 1,884 cases. The law has been very stringent since the Nirbhaya case. We amended the law, the criminal law.
We changed the definition of rape.
Changed the definition completely and harsher punishments. But we've had tremendous increase in rape cases in the country. So clearly, it's a myth that if you have stricter punishment, it's going to deter people.
So can we just park that for a moment? Can we just give me a second? Because I'm sitting next to somebody who's actually lived what we are talking about. And I have here Neeraj, who has actually been found guilty of murder, but he is today a reformed juvenile and works in a home, and I want him to be able to tell his own story. नीरज जी, आप पहले अपने बारे में कुछ बताइए, किस उम्र पर आप ये क्राइम, डकैती, मर्डर में कैसे इन्वॉल्व हुए?
जी, मैं स्कूल पढ़ता था. स्कूल पढ़ते पढ़ते मेरे दोस्त थे. दोस्तों के साथ मैं नहीं रहता था, अपना पढ़ने में रहता था. तो मैं फिर जैसे मैं क्लास में पास हो के मेरे दोस्त मिल गए दूसरे, मैं उनसे बातचीत करता था. फिर उनके साथ बार बार जाता था. एक दिन हमारे स्कूल में लड़ाई हुई थी, तो हमने लड़के को मारा स्कूल में अंदर ही.
मार दिया? मारा,
ऐसे चोट लगी. पीटा. तो पुलिस वाले आए थे, प्रिंसिपल ने पुलिस वाले बुलाए, हमें थाने में ले गए. थाने में ले जाने के बाद घर वालों से पैसे ऐसे मांग रहे थे, तो हमने पैसों की मना कर दी. उन्होंने हमें जेल भेज दिया. जेल भेजने के बाद मेरी फिर घर वालों ने मेरी बेल कराई. बेल कराने के बाद मैं थोड़े दिन जेल के अंदर रहा. बेल आने के बाद मैं बाहर आया. बाहर आने के बाद मैं 1.5-2 महीने रहा बाहर. फिर मैं स्कूल जाता था. पुलिस वालों ने मुझे फिर बिना फालतू में पकड़ लिया. तुमने ऐसे ऐसे करा, वैसे करा. मैंने तो करा ही नहीं. मैंने तो उस टाइम करा था मुझे फिर पैसे वैसों की मांगने लग गए। मेरे घर वालों ने, मैं रोने लग गया, सर मैंने कुछ नहीं किया, कुछ नहीं किया। मुझे बंद कर दिया बिना फालतू केस में। फिर उस टाइम मैं 6-7 महीने जेल में रहा।
तो आप ये कह रहे हैं कि जो मर्डर के चार्जेस आपके खिलाफ लगाए थे वो सच नहीं है?
हैं, उसमें से आधे तो एक नाजायज है।
अच्छा, उसमें से सच क्या है?
सच
आपने कभी जिंदगी में किसी को मर्डर किया है?
हाँ जी किया हमने।
बताइए।
जी मैं 5-6 महीने जेल में रहा। जेल में रहने के बाद यार दोस्त बन गए मेरे। दोस्त बनने के बाद फिर हम बाहर आए। बाहर आता रहा, मैं फिर क्राइम में डल गया, उन लड़कों के साथ इन्वॉल्व हो गया, उनका हद करता रहता था, छीना झपटी, मारपीट। तो एक दिन हमारे यहाँ पे एक लड़का था, हमने उसका मर्डर कर दिया था।
क्यों किया आपने?
वो हमारे यहाँ का बदमाश था इस चक्कर में। अब बदमाश था, हमने उसे प्लान बनाया, 3-4 लड़के थे, हमने मर्डर करने के बाद उसके फरार हो गए। हम 6-7 महीने फरार रहने के बाद स्पेशल जेल ने हमें पकड़ लिया। पकड़ने के बाद मैं फिर भी जुनाइल था। मैं पकड़ जाने के बाद मेरे साथ के जो बड़े थे वो तिहाड़ चला गए। फिर मैं 5-6 महीने रहा,
फिर निकल गए आप।
हाँ जी।
आपने कितनी बारी इस तरह की क्राइम की?
बहुत सारे। हाँ जी।
आज क्या करते
हैं? आज मैं वहाँ पे काम करता हूँ वॉलंटरी।
तो लोग पूछेंगे कि हम क्यों माने कि जो इंसान किसी और का जीवन ले सकता है वो कभी क्यों सुधर सकता है?
जी मैं सुधरने की सोचता था, पुलिस वाले सुधरने नहीं देते थे। घर पे रहता था, बिना फालतू में बंद कर देते थे, पैसे मांगते थे। इतने तो मेरे घर वाले अमीर है नहीं जो उनको हमेशा पैसे थे।
पर आपको लगता है कि इसे जस्टिफाई हो सकता है कि आपने किसी का खून किया?
जी किया।
लेकिन ये तो मतलब चाहे आपके साथ कितना भी बड़ा हादसा हुआ, आप इसको ये तो नहीं कह सकते कि पुलिस वालों ने मेरे से खून करवाया।
जो वो बदमाश हो उनका कुछ नहीं करते पुलिस वाले, जो बिना फालतू में।
कितने मर्डर्स किए हैं?
4।
बताइए।
4।
Yet you are from the organization in which Neeraj is now a volunteer. You would consider him in the process of reform. I can tell you that a number of people here are chilled by this account. They feel that they're sitting next to somebody who, despite his young years, is able to be very matter of fact in a sense about his life. What would you say?
First of all, I'd like to say that the current debate is going on, and on that I must say that the age should not be reduced.
Okay, but आप नीरज के बारे में बताइए।
नीरज के बारे में मैं बता रहा हूँ, because he was one of the toughest child in the juvenile justice system in Delhi. He used to be one of the toughest child, and we know that how difficult he was for all of us, not for all of us, but for the institution, for the administration, for everybody. But the point is that when he was brought to our center, he at the first interaction he said, I wanted to change, but I never get a chance to change. As and when I feel, okay, I'll not do this kind of things, somebody else come and say that if you do not do, you will put behind bars. If you do, you will also put behind bars. So it's good that if you do something and then go to jail, so that you can have something,
Okay, I just want to get the panel now to start responding to this. Jasjeet, let's start with you.
But that's where I want to go back to what I was
talking about. No, but let's talk about this young man sitting next to me, because this is the reality. We keep talking in abstraction. This is the reality. This is somebody who found himself on the streets, who initially thought he was locked up for the wrong reasons, lost his way, but has committed 4 murders. 4 murders.
Yes, but if you can bring him back away from it, as the person working with him claims, if you can change him, isn't that ultimately also the purpose of law?
Is that the purpose of law, Subramaniam Swamy? Yeah. Isn't or shouldn't that be the purpose of law?
First of all, let me say that even amongst 4 adults, it's not automatic that if he has killed somebody, he would be given the death penalty.
Yes.
All right. There are circumstances that are taken into account.
Rarest of rare and so on. Yeah.
Now, in his case, he says that he was a badmash, so I killed him.
Yeah.
Or he killed all 4 were badmashes. Now, these circumstances are taken into account when even adults are given life imprisonment or
you're saying that their life history is a factor in decision
right. Number
making.
One. Number two, in the case of Nirbhaya, that girl had also human rights of her own. She had fundamental rights.
Yeah.
She had a right to live, and she had just come out of college with flying colors, and she was about to launch in a career. She was deprived of her life. The parents have been distraught on that. Now, do we have, after all, allowed in our laws the concept of deterrence? And
but I think what's being argued by Bharti and Ved Kumari and Achal Bhagat is Jasjeet is that the statistics don't show that there is deterrence taking place as a consequence
we
of the...
we do not know. No, wait a minute. I don't know about these statistics because I have got lots of contradictory studies. I've filed some of them in the Supreme Court. I would say, suppose I'll argue that these tougher laws were not there. How do we know the acceleration wouldn't have been even more?
Well, that argument doesn't go anywhere.
Is this young man's story? Is this man's
yours
story?
a conjecture?
Can I just ask?
You
can I ask
cannot
you
rule
something?
it out.
Can we come back to what we've heard?
I want
Is
to
this
ask
a
a
story of hope, or is this a story of exactly what's wrong with the law before it was
How
changed?
old was he when he committed the first crime?
आप कितना बड़े थे जब आपने first murder किया?
13 साल का था मैं जब 13 साल की उम्र में मैंने मर्डर करने के बाद मैं कुछ दिनों बाद छूट गया था।
आपने कैसे मर्डर किया?
चाकू से मारा था।
आपको समझ थी 13 साल पे आप क्या कर रहे हैं? आपको जब आपने किसी को मार दिया तो आपके मन में कुछ लगा कि मैंने किसी का मर्डर कर दिया?
मुझे डर सा लगा था बहुत।
And how can he judge that those people were badmashes and he should take their life? So had he been given a more strict this thing even at 13, those other 3 lives would have been saved.
Bharti, how do we resolve somebody like Neeraj? Yeah, you know, I'll just come to you, Dr.
I think I actually do not like this whole business of just picking up one child and asking him questions in this fashion. But at the same time, I will say...
But isn't it important to also hear their stories?
Yes, it is, but not not in the fashion that it's happening right here. But at the same time, I must say that this is, to my mind, it is a story of hope.
Okay.
It is not a story about failure of a system. There are larger issues related to failure of the system, not failure of the law once again. The law does not say that no child is capable of not committing a crime. Only child under 7 is not capable of committing crime. After age of 7, you are absolutely capable of
What is your
doing
biggest
that.
problem with the amendment?
The problem is
It's unconstitutional.
It's unconstitutional,
Yes.
you're saying. Okay, I'll just come to you, but why do you say it's unconstitutional?
There is a provision, there is an Article 20 in the Constitution which says punishment greater than the one which is applicable on the date of the offence cannot be given. Section 6 or 7, whatever is the section which says
it will apply only in the future.
It is. No,
it will not apply.
No, we are not talking
apply.
Nirbhaya. We are talking this
She
proposed
said
it will not apply to any
proposed legislation says that if the child with the person who committed the offence was below 18 on the date of the offence but is arrested after turning 21, he will be presumed to have committed the offence as an adult and be treated as an adult.
No, that's not the law.
Article 20.
I don't
No,
know.
the law is age
the
is
draft
determined on the date of the offence, and whatever is the law on the date of the
I can
offence, that will
read.
apply.
So Badri and Asha's case will not get benefit
not
from
get
this.
No, we are not
They
into,
will
we are not into
अब
Asha and
Badri जी,
Badri.
आप जानते हैं कि ये लॉ जब आया है तो ये रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली नहीं अप्लाई हो सकता, तो अगर ये कानून बन भी जाएगा तो आपके खुद के केस में फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा। बद्री जी,
हमारे केस में फर्क पड़े चाहे मत पड़े, हम ये नहीं जानते, लेकिन आने वाले जितने लड़कियां हैं, जितने भाई अपने बैठे हुए हैं, इनसे पूछिए कि क्या इनके घर में एक बहन है, एक बेटी है, एक माँ है, उनके मन में कोई डर कभी नहीं सताता है कि नहीं हमारे साथ भी कुछ हो सकता है? ये जितनी लड़कियां बैठी है, बहनें बैठी हैं, बेटी बैठी हैं, क्या इनके मन में कभी डर नहीं सताता होगा कि नहीं हमारे साथ कोई अप्रिय घटना घट जाएगी? जब सबके मन में ये डर है तो हमें अपने डर की बात नहीं है, हमारा जो होना था हो गया, लेकिन इनकी रक्षा हमारा धर्म है, इसलिए हम हमेशा कहें कि कानून बदलना चाहिए, जरूरी है।
Article 20. How do you disagree?
I will want to read section 6 from the
One
legislation.
minute, sir. 1 minute. 1 minute. I don't think the argument should be about whether it applies retrospectively or not.
No,
I
it's
think
not
the argument has to
retrospective,
be
it's prospective.
whether the heart of
retrospective,
this
it is
amendment.
unconstitutional.
One second. Whether the heart,
you
we cannot
make a law
but
against
we can't make
fundamental
a
rights.
technical argument on this. I think that's not the argument. I think the argument is whether this is the correct way to proceed in the larger interest of justice for all. And Achal Bhagat, it keeps coming back to reform versus retribution. Reform versus retribution.
Precisely.
This gentleman here, Neeraj, can be a revolting story for some, but it can be an extraordinary story of hope for other people. So how do you navigate that contradiction?
Right. So in my experience, and the research proves it,
Yeah.
that adolescents are less blameworthy of their crimes. Nobody's justifying the crime.
Yeah.
But the research says that there are two parts of the brain. One part of the brain which is seeking sensation, which is seeking reward, which is taking risks,
Yeah.
which is not postponing gratification,
Yeah.
matures faster, and in early and mid adolescence, that part is more prominent.
Yeah.
And the reasoning part of the brain, which foresees, which plans, which understands the risks, looks at pros and cons, develops later.
But is someone between 16 and 18 an adolescent?
Yeah.
I think that's also a question.
Yes.
So the research says this. Let me complete what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The research says this, that because the cognitive part of the brain develops later, the adolescent is much more at risk to take decisions under the influence of their peers.
Okay, Subramanian Swamy, would you at least concede that there is an ambiguity, an unresolved question in science itself? And I think when you, even in adult law, there are concessions for those who are not necessarily in control of their choices. I think this is a very important aspect of this decision, that think of yourself when you were 16, think of yourself when you were 15. I don't think we knew what we were doing for most part.
May I remove one
And
misconception?
then add poverty, no security of family, many different factors. These are orphans of society.
These all factors go into the Now let me first of all say that this amendment bars death penalty and life imprisonment.
Yeah, it does.
Not for all offences.
I can
not for all offences.
Please read it.
Only for
I
IPC.
can read it out.
From what I have understood, it bars it.
No, please, please yourself, you should read it.
If you can read it out, there is a scope for death penalty.
Please open this section.
Very
and
cleverly
read it.
drafted, must say.
Yeah, okay. Please open this section and read it.
Okay, in the meantime, Jasjeet, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, but I just want to say, if we are ruling on things like the age for driving, the age to vote, the age to drink, we are still struggling everywhere as societies to figure out when is it the
when
decision
is adult enough.
Absolutely. So we can go on saying
okay, I think that's a good point.
There is a very important aspect of this.
I'm not finished.
Okay,
please.
quickly. Because
now the reason I want to go back to what I was talking about, sexual awareness, is this is a real issue in the growing society. We're talking about building smart cities. What about safe cities? And safety requires that the young people have a space, if they've been molested, violated, raped, or if they have had any kind of abuse, places to go to, places where they can talk, where they can understand that sexuality is about boundaries, it's about safety, it's about respect, it's about gender relations. But we have no such spaces.
Can I just ask KTS Sosi, then I want to take questions.
There is a very important aspect of this, that the children below 18, between 16 and 18, really got exploited between 2002 to 2012, and the statistics show that because the criminal gangs and criminal syndicates are aware that they cannot be punished and they are getting exploited, they are getting drawn into crimes, serious crimes.
My question is somewhat different, but answer Jasjeet's point that we do not you have to have a universal definition of what is a child and what is an adult. Now in our country this is a bit confused, because even when it comes, for example, to marriages under 18, when personal law kicks in between 15 and 18, it's not a basis for annulment.
So the Juvenile Justice Board will decide that.
No. Tosi Sahab, I'm making a different argument. I am saying, is there a problem because there are contradictory definitions of what a child is? Is it 18 when you have the right to vote? Is it 25 when you have the right to drink? Is it 21 when you have the right to do something else? Is it 16?
14 child labor.
We have a
14 for child labor.
But we have a national policy now which defines
even under the POCSO law, it will have sex. If you are having affairs, you can be pulled up and then treated as adult. Put him in.
Okay, let's take some questions, and I want to come back to this clarification.
No, but I want to bring in penology on this. 18th century, we said an eye for an eye was the principle of punishment.
Yes.
Then we says deterrence. In today's world, we talk about reformation. In case of children, we said reformation without punishment. For adults, we are saying reformation while punishing. This law is going back to 18th century when we say an eye for an eye.
So you're saying it's going back to the principle of retribution.
Yes.
All right. Now,
but nobody is giving up reform and rehabilitation. Reform and rehabilitation continues to be the focus, not only for juveniles, for everybody.
Okay, got to take a break now. We'll be back in just a moment. We're continuing our debate on the proposed amendments in the juvenile law. आपकी बेटी के साथ जो हुआ, जिन लड़कों ने ये किया वो 18 साल की कम उम्र में है, इसलिए वो खुलेआम घूम रहे हैं. आपको इतना डर क्यों लगा कि आपने बिल्कुल अपना शहर ही बदल दिया?
शहर इसलिए बदल दिया, हमें धमकियाँ मिली है वहाँ पे, भाई जगह निकाली करोगे, यहाँ से नहीं जाओगे ना तो बच्ची को उठा लेंगे या कुछ भी कर सकते हैं.
You're watching We the People. It's a volatile, heated debate on whether the proposed amendments in the juvenile law are actually something that will create more retribution than reform. Let's start taking questions here before we take last comments. Yes.
The first thing I would like to say is that when we lower an age, it's symptomatic. You are reacting to something which happened. Now later on, if something else happens and there's a heinous crime committed by somebody who's 14 years old, you'll have to reduce it to 14, 12, 10.
So where does this end?
Where does it end?
I think that's a very important question. And on this note, before I take that to the panel, I want to hear from somebody whose daughter was 6 years old when she was raped. By neighbors, by the neighbors' children. They've come all the way from Rajasthan. आप बताना चाहेंगे, आप फादर हैं बेटी की, कि ये जो जिन लड़कों ने ये किया आपकी बेटी को, वो उनकी उम्र 18 से कम?
18 से कम थी, यानी मतलब 15 साल के थे, एक 14 साल का था. जो मतलब मेरी बच्ची घुल मिल ली हुई थी, खेलने के लिए जाती थी उन्हों के घर पे, लेकिन उन्होंने क्या पता क्या दिमाग में ये चीज़ मेरी बच्ची को बुला के और उन्होंने हरकतें की. फिर मैंने थाना के अंदर रिपोर्ट करी. फिर मैंने वहाँ पे 12 बज गए मेरे को वहाँ पे लिखा फटी कर है.
पर ये क्योंकि 18 साल की कम उम्र से थे, कितना दिन उन्होंने बताया
अंदर उन्हों को 2-3 दिन नहीं रखे और उन्हों को बरी कर दिए, उन्हों को छोड़ दिए. फिर बाद में मैं चक्कर काटता रहा, कभी कोर्ट में, कभी कहाँ पे, कभी मेरे को कुछ की सहायता नहीं मिल रही. और हमारे साथ के अंदर वो तो आराम से खाना आना खा रहे हैं, हम भूखे प्यासे बैठे. हमारे को रात को 12 पुलिस वालों ने 12 बजे छोड़ के आए हमारे को.
और आपने शहर भी बदला क्योंकि आप लोगों को डर था कि वो लोग तो खुले घूम
रहे हैं. हमारे को डर लगा, मारने पीटने के लिए बोला, तो फिर हमने वहाँ से रूम चेंज कर दिया. हमारे टोंक चले गए, वहाँ पे रह रहे हैं, कुमा के खा रहे हैं. 100-200 रुपये की मजदूरी करता हूँ मैं, तो फलदारी करता हूँ मैं. तो मेरे बच्ची के साथ में दुर्घटना हुई है, देखे नहीं गए हमारे से. हमने 3-4 दिन तक खाए पिए भी नहीं.
आप डेली लेबर कर रहे हैं. आप माँ हैं, आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे इन लोगों को कि आपकी बेटी के साथ जो हुआ, जिन लड़कों ने ये किया वो 18 साल की कम उम्र में है, इसलिए वो खुलेआम घूम रहे हैं. आपको इतना डर क्यों लगा कि आपने बिल्कुल अपना शहर ही बदल दिया?
शहर इसलिए बदल दिया, हमें धमकियाँ मिली है वहाँ पे, भाई जगह निकाली करोगे, यहाँ से नहीं जाओगे ना तो बच्ची को उठा लेंगे या कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. और मैं नहीं चाहती भाई मेरे 6 साल की बच्ची के साथ ऐसी हरकत हुई, दोबारा कर सकते हैं. वो जब फर्स्ट बार कर ली उन्होंने, दोबारा भी कर सकते हैं. हमारे कोई बोलने वाला भी नहीं था, हमें कुछ.
I think I want to respond to that very.
Can I just quickly, बद्री जी, अगर आप, क्योंकि आपके साथ ये बीती है, आप इनको कुछ एक मिनट उनको बोलने तो दें, उनको बोलने तो दें मैम. Everyone has a right to their opinion.
Yes, I also want to be heard because I think when a rape happens, whether it is a juvenile or an adult, families do need to make changes because they do not want the family, other people to get to know because they feel threatened.
But isn't this the problem with our society? We stigmatize the victim.
It is not typical of juvenile. It is not typical of juvenile that they are feeling threatened because a juvenile was involved.
Let me say something. This is a problem with both victims as well as the families of juveniles who have been accused of all kinds of crimes, not just heinous offences necessarily. Our studies are constantly telling us that they too shift residences, but that does not justify the crime in any way. What I'm trying to say is, all this while, is that principally as a nation we need to take a call on what kind of law do we really need for children of the country. And children have been defined in the national policy for children of the year 2013. It's not a very old policy, as people below the age of 18 years. And the policy is supposed to inform and guide every other law and program. But having said that, it's a very strange law that we are coming up with. That has been proposed. On one hand,
in this case, it was a complete failure of justice.
On corporal punishment,
it was a complete failure of justice.
On corporal punishment, the law says that people have to be punished if they subject their children to physical or mental harassment, because you cannot teach children right and wrong by punishing them in that fashion, by beating them up. And on the other hand, they take this stand. So it's a very confused logic.
Punishment is a deterrence. That is what prevents further offences.
But we're hearing again and again the statistics do not show that. We're hearing again and again that.
We don't know what it would be like if they.
But जी आप इन पेरेंट्स को क्या बोलेंगे? आपके साथ ये बीती है.
देखिए, हम इन पेरेंट्स को ये कहेंगे, इनसे कहने से पहले मैं एक चीज़ कहना चाहूँगा कि इतिहास जो बीत गया है समय हमको समझा रहा है कि जो हमारी कहाँ गलती है उसको सुधार करें. कानून में बदलाव बहुत ज़रूरी है. एक नाबालिग ऐसा कर्म करके बाहर घूम रहा है और ऊपर से धमकी दे रहा है, तो आगे समाज हमारा कहाँ जा रहा है?
Okay, let's take some questions here and then last final comments.
My question is basically that you said that, you know, children under the age of 16, juveniles who we're considering.
Under the age of 18.
Under the age of 18, so far before the amendment. You said that they have impressionable minds and they're underdeveloped. So my question is that if a person who is capable of raping a 6-year-old and then actually threatening the family to leave the place, how is that underdevelopment if he's capable of doing it?
Because all adult accused constantly do that. We deal with children who are victims of sexual offences, my dear, and believe me, many of them have had to change residence, and the perpetrators
No, but that's
are
not
adults.
the changing residence is not at the heart of the atrocity.
As a society,
it's one element.
As a society, we have constantly always threatened our victims. The children are not learning anything different from adults.
After release from the prison, are we less threatened by their presence amongst us? 7 years, 10 years, they will come out. They'll come out at the age of 24, 23, 27, 37 at the most. 20 years is the longest for prison. So when they will come out...
Can I just answer that? If you look at children in conflict zones, in Israel, Gaza, etc., there are young children who are killing. They are being trained to go to war. 10, 12, 14. You can watch lots of films on them. Do you think they have the decision-making power to do that? But they are doing, and they are being trained. So there's a lot of violence which a young person is taught. They may be physically and physiologically capable of taking that forward. That does not mean that they're emotionally and intellectually and morally, you know, there to be able to make that decision.
Okay,
and that's a distinction.
Okay, it's an important point that you make about children in conflict. Just take a question.
Not a question, but what she said, ki when the children again come out after 35 years, 17 years, whatever, so won't they threaten them again? But if in mind they have this fear of going back to the jail again for the crime they commit, won't that act as a deterrent for them?
Yes.
Okay, can I just take one more question here?
Ma'am, the thing that came forward was that these people are already aware that being juvenile they won't be punished, but we have totally ignored the fact that they are the people who are coming from rural area. They are not educated. They see every day that their mothers are beaten up.
Are you saying that rich children don't commit crimes?
Ma'am, I'm not saying this, but
get
what
away.
I am saying
They
is
don't
that
get caught. They
on
get
a
away.
very large note, the crime taking place is done by the migrants who do not understand what exactly education is.
Are we making a terrible class generalization here? Achal Bhagat, I mean, it is a terrible class generalization.
Unfortunately, blame the migrant,
You don't
blame
think
the
it is? Okay,
migrant.
I'll come to you, ma'am.
NCRB data.
Just one second. I have a problem with basically saying it's only the poor and the uneducated who commit crimes. Perfectly rich
debate.
men beat their wives every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Every moment.
Every moment,
So let's bring the debate back to the question in hand.
Yes.
Are children as blameworthy? Are they more capable of changing?
Yes.
The answer is they're less blameworthy and they're more capable of changing. Does our present system follow that? No, it does not. Would the adult system make them less liable to commit crime again? Unfortunately,
You're
not.
actually arguing the opposite. It would make them more liable. It would harden them further.
So unless we look at the science and look at the data and look at the research, we are going to make a disastrous
I have to start
mistake.
ending, but a couple of questions.
India is a culturally rich country where we are too afraid to discuss about sex on national television, and we are very comfortable discussing rapes, right? And this is actually the core of the problem. You'll find people. For example, if a child is able to commit rape, I guess he's capable enough, and he understands what he's doing.
Okay,
exactly.
Question here?
This is for those who disagree with the amendment. Basically, see, to constitute a crime, there are two essential features. One is that the child knows the consequence of the crime he's doing and the nature of the crime. So, what do they have to say about those juveniles who commit such crime?
Last question.
There are 2 points I want to make. One, the aim of the law is not just to bring a change in the criminals, but also for the security of the society.
But we have to show that it's making them more secure.
Yeah, no, but if for a reason on the cost of not changing the minds of the criminal, we are making the society more secure, that's a good thing.
Okay, Ved Kumari, the question is this, that you don't want to be populist, you don't want to be emotional, but all governments do have to respond to public opinion. And there is a building public opinion. Some would blame the media, some would be on the side of the media. That debate will carry on. The fact of the matter is, how do you explain to the parents of somebody whose child has been raped, whose child has been murdered, that these people should come out into the free world in 2 or 3 years. I think that's really at the heart of it.
I think we
quickly,
need to look
30
at
seconds each. I'm
both,
really out of time.
Both. No, the accused can also be your child. You have to think from that perspective.
That's an interesting point. The accused could also be your child. Bharti, you said you could explain it.
And you know, we've had personal experience of young people who've been abused by other young peers, sexually abused, where, you know, through a process of mediation and discussion, it's been possible for both set of parents to understand what the law talks about and appreciate what the law talks about.
Subramanian Swamy, I think Vedkumar makes an interesting point, that if this were one of our children, would we still want the same law?
Certainly.
We would?
I certainly would.
Would we
and
not?
I would think there's something wrong with me that my child has ended up like that. The fact of the matter is that we have gone into this question. She talked about taking a call. We are a government which has got a mandate to govern. We have ascertained, and now the bill is not going to be passed in this session. It is going to go before the standing committee. It will call for opinions from everybody and make up a mind. It will be an all-party.
And therefore, this debate is important. Badriji, I'll give you the last word. I have to end. आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे आखिर?
मैं ये बोलना चाह रहा कि ये हम लोग यहाँ जो बैठे हैं किताबों की कहानी नहीं पढ़ रहे हैं. समाज हमारा भुगत रहा है जुवेनाइलों की वजह से, तो उसको हमें कानून में बदलाव जो हो रहा है उसका हमें स्वागत करना चाहिए. और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि अगर इन जुवेनाइलों के ऊपर अगर कोई कानून नहीं बना तो आगे क्या होगा ये समाज बताएगा, क्योंकि पूरा समाज भुगत रहा है. छोटा
Okay, we'll have to end on that note. I think as Dr. Swamy points out, the debate is still open, the jury is still out. What is the best possible mechanism to deliver justice? But that has to include justice for everybody involved, not just for one section of society. Children are vulnerable. It is a failure of the state that our children, if there is an incidence in the crimes by children, that is also a collective failure of the entire society. We leave it there as the debate continues. Thank you very much.